Today I want you to be a better bricklayer. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I thought this series was about self-publishing and, content creation and all those things. Why is he even mentioning bricklaying? Well, I had seen a couple of months back, or it might have been a year back now at this stage, a video that Will Smith, he of Hollywood fame, had made. I'm not too sure if it was a motivational or an inspirational video he had created, or whether it was from a TV show. I think it was a TV show, now that I think about it. But what it was that he was being interviewed, and he brought up the topic of how he and his brother, I think it was his younger brother, had come home from school one day, and they had gone out to where their father worked in the workshop. Now again, I'm not too sure what occupation the father was, but Will had said that the workshop or the shed that the father had, there was a huge wall, or a huge hole had been knocked in the wall. Now he said that the size of the hole was something like 16 feet by 30 feet, so it was a huge hole that was taken out of the workshop. And the next thing the father said to them was, I want you to rebuild that wall. Now, like any teenager would, and probably like yourself, you probably said, well, what the hell do I know about bricklaying? I can't build a wall. But the father gave him a great piece of advice that I think he has carried right through his life. And he said, all you need to do is put your brick down the best that you can. Now, if you can imagine, if you were a bricklayer, rather than focusing on the whole wall, which I imagine they do, I imagine if you turned up to a building site and you had a look at the plans and you had this huge apartment block to build, or a skyscraper, or whatever it is, but probably from you looking at this empty building site, you're looking at the foundation, that building probably seems like a huge goal that's way off in the distance. And sometimes to project yourself that far means that you're just you get unmotivated. It just seems like there's too much to do, you won't get there. But if you focused on every brick and putting that brick down as best you can, over time that building will take care of itself. Now, as Will said again in the beginning, just like building that house, him and his brother started putting the bricks down. They laid the bricks as best they could, made sure they were straight, make sure they were level. So they took their time doing it, and he said, I don't know exactly how long it took them to rebuild that wall, but every day when they would come home from school, they would spend an hour or so mixing up cement and laying their bricks, and then they would return to it every day. But as he said in the beginning, it didn't look like they were getting anywhere. They were laying these blocks of bricks, and for the longest time the hole seemed far better than the gap that they were filling. But over time, eventually they reached the end and they rebuilt the wall. Now, if you look at your own life or your own business as a wall, if you can imagine, if you made every day a brick and you laid that brick as best you could, you can imagine how your life would transform by the end of it. If you can imagine, as I'm doing these videos here, if I try and do the best video I can, with the skill I have right now, you can imagine over time that I will have a great video series. Or if you imagine yourself, if you are maybe trying to get into fiction writing or blogging or something like that, if you went out today and you wrote the best blog piece you could, or the best piece of fiction you could, and put that down, if you can imagine, in a year from now you would have 365 amazing pieces of content, or 365 amazing pages in a book. Or like I'm doing here, hopefully I'll have over 700 amazing videos done in the year. But as I said, sometimes when we look up off at that lofty goal, like that huge skyscraper, it seems like it's a goal we're never going to reach. It's too big from where we are, and we may be like that builder turning up on the building site on the first day, where we're just looking at the foundation, there's nothing in place, and even the thought of putting one brick down, it seems minuscule compared to the target we have to get to. So, as Will did and his brother did, if you concentrate on putting down the best brick you can, making sure you do it properly, over time those bricks all added together will make a really, really strong wall, or a really, really strong business, or a really great book, or a really great blog. So try and do that today. Think to yourself, how can I make sure that this day is a great brick that I am putting down, and how can I build on it in the future so that I can build a greater wall or a greater life or a greater business for myself. And rather than thinking of that lofty goal of that, whatever it is that you have in mind, whether it's money, whether it's books or posts or whatever it is, rather than thinking about that, just concentrate on the brick you're working on today. Do it to your best of your ability, and over time, it might seem that that gap is a huge gap that you have to reach, but over time, adding one more brick and one more brick and one more brick, suddenly you'll stand back and realise that the wall is completed. And not only is it completed, but it is the best wall ever, because you have focused on every single brick along the way. You haven't just thrown a couple haphazard in, didn't make sure they were level, put them in backwards or sideways or whatever. So when you stand back from that wall, it is a wall that is going to stand to you in the future, and it's something that you can be proud of. So think about that today. How can I make today a great brick, and how can I build on this day? How can I do it over and over and over again, so that I will build something that I can be really, really proud of, or a life that will be far different than where I am right now, by focusing on my daily actions and making them a great brick in the wall of my life. So I hope maybe that's inspired you. I know when I heard that, that little story, it did motivate me to try and do my best every day, to try and build each day by creating a better brick. So, as always, if you'd like to know more about me, you're very welcome to come over to writecom.com. That's writecome.com, and you'll find all the content over there. Or if you want to do a Google search, again, just search for Writecom, that's writecome.com, and you'll find a lot of content will show up in the Google search. So as always, thanks for sharing your time with me again today, and take care and have a great day. Bye bye.